Silently the humans withdrew, and the Council was left to answer for its actions. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council stood empty, save for the 7 representatives who had once commanded the respect of 1,000 worlds. Ambassador Velkrin of the Zenthari Empire stared at the vacant seat, where the human delegation had sat for the past 42 cycles. The polished obsidian chair reflected the dim emergency lighting. Power rationing had become necessary 3 months after humanity's departure. They said nothing, Counselor Thrace whispered, her crystalline form dimming with what her species expressed as shame. Not a single word of protest. They simply left. It had been during the vote on Resolution 7 Alpha, the legislation that would have relegated humanity to a Class C civilization status, stripping them of voting rights and access to the primary trade routes. The Council had grown weary of human unpredictability, their strange emotional decision-making, their stubborn insistence on individual rights even when collective efficiency was clearly superior. The vote had passed, 847 to 1, with only the humans dissenting. Ambassador Chen had stood slowly, her dark eyes scanning the chamber with an expression the translators couldn't quite capture. She had gathered her datapad, nodded once to the assembly, and walked out. Within 6 hours, every human vessel had departed Council space. Within 12 hours, every human embassy stood empty. Within a day, humanity had withdrawn completely from galactic affairs. The Council had celebrated. Finally, they could govern without the complications that humans constantly introduced. That had been 8 months ago. Velkrin's secondary hands trembled as he reviewed the latest reports. The Korvaxi war fleet, which had terrorized the outer colonies for generations, had grown bold after humanity's withdrawal. Without human patrol ships, those strange vessels that seemed to operate on controlled explosions and sheer audacity, the Korvaxi had expanded their raids. The Council had dispatched their own defense force. It had been obliterated in 3 days. No one had realized how many conflicts humanity had been quietly managing. The trade disputes they mediated, the pirates they suppressed, the border skirmishes they prevented simply by being present. Humans had a reputation. They didn't start fights, but they finished them with a terrifying efficiency that made others think twice. The agricultural shipments from Sector 7 have stopped, announced Counselor Brevix, his voice translator crackling with poorly suppressed panic. The Yilnar Consortium refuses to transport goods without human security guarantees. Ridiculous, Velkrin had said initially. We can provide security, but they couldn't, not really. The Yilnar had explained patiently that in 40 years of working with humans, they had lost exactly 0 shipments to piracy. In the 3 months since humans withdrew, they had lost 17. The insurance costs alone were prohibitive. Thrace pulled up a holographic display showing the Council's economic projections. The lines all trended downward, some catastrophically so. The humans weren't just consumers, she said quietly. They were the lubricant that made our entire economic system function. It was true. Humans had possessed a peculiar talent for entrepreneurship, for seeing opportunities others missed. They had created industries no one knew they needed. Their entertainment alone, those strange stories and games and music, had comprised 12% of the galactic economy's luxury goods sector. More importantly, humans had been innovators. While other species perfected what already existed, humans constantly invented, tinkered, improved. The medical advancements, the engineering solutions, the agricultural techniques, all had flowed disproportionately from human worlds. We should send an envoy, suggested Ambassador Krell, his mandibles clicking nervously. Apologize. Ask them to return. Velkrin had already tried. His messages went unanswered. The human systems were closed, their borders patrolled by ships that politely but firmly turned away all visitors. Humanity had built a wall of silence, and the galaxy was left knocking on a door that wouldn't open. The worst part was the speed of it all. The Council had expected disruption, certainly, but not collapse. Not this cascade of failures that revealed how thoroughly humanity had integrated itself into the galactic community's infrastructure. The defense grid that protected Council space, human-designed algorithms optimizing threat detection, the Universal Translation Protocol, built on human linguistic research, the faster-than-light communication relays, maintained by human technicians who understood the quirky systems better than anyone. All of it gone. They planned this, Velkrin realized suddenly. They knew exactly what would happen. Thrace's light flickered in agreement. Of course they did. Humans are exceptional at contingency planning. They probably had withdrawal protocols ready from the moment they joined the Council. It was a sobering thought. Humanity had spent decades integrating themselves into every aspect of galactic civilization, not through force or coercion, but through sheer competence and willingness to do the work others found tedious or unprofitable, and they had done it knowing that one day they might need to leave. The emergency session had been called because the situation was deteriorating faster than projected. Food shortages on 12 worlds, piracy at levels not seen in centuries, 3 member species on the verge of civil war without human mediators, the Corvaxi growing bolder by the day. We could try sanctioning them, Krell suggested weakly. Velkrin's laughter was bitter. Sanction them with what? They're completely self-sufficient. We need them far more than they need us. That's what we never understood. The humans had been patient teachers, generous allies, creative problem solvers. They had asked for so little. Just a voice, just respect, just the acknowledgement of their sovereignty. And the Council, in its arrogance, had decided that wasn't necessary. Now the galaxy was learning a hard lesson. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't their military might or their economic power. It was their ability to simply walk away from those who didn't value them and build something better elsewhere. The 7 counselors sat in the dimming chamber, surrounded by the fruits of their own hubris. Somewhere beyond the borders of council space, humanity was thriving in silence. And the galaxy that had dismissed them was learning to count the cost of that dismissal, one catastrophe at a time. The vote to restore humanity's status was unanimous. The question was whether humans would even bother to listen.